Hey there, GMATenthreturns. That is your username. What I am doing here is a quick experiment in giving some of these profile reviews. As you may know, when I or the other applicant lab consultants are giving feedback on people's their application materials, we tend to do them through video recordings instead of typing everything out, because video is a lot faster to talk than it is to type, and therefore we feel that people get the most bang for their buck from our consultations if they get them through video versus just through text. So let's try this out. I have reviewed your profile, and here's what I think. First of all, at the age of 30, you are a little bit on the older side for getting a full-time MBA. However, I was heartened to see below that you actually have 5 years of experience, of work experience. So actually, while at first I was pretty bummed out about the 30 years age, the fact that, I'm guessing that what happened is that you spent several years getting this mechanical engineering master's, and therefore you actually are kind of in line in terms of work experience with a lot of people applying to full-time MBA programs. So the age is not as important as the years of work experience. Now, the one thing that's a little bit tricky, look, I absolutely love the fact, my gosh, I love people who go to any IIT in India, especially people who go to a top 5 IIT. Here's what's a little puzzling though, man or woman. I would expect someone who went to a top 5 IIT to do significantly better on the GMAT. And in fact, as I'm sure you can imagine, most of your colleagues and peers who did go to IIT do tend to score kind of in the sort of mid 700 to upper 700 range. So it looks to me like verbal is what did you in. It also looks to me like you are planning to retake, so I would strongly urge you and encourage you to do that. However, should a retake not be possible, it looks like since the verbal is the thing that did you in, what you might want to do is write an optional essay explaining the fact that since you live in Canada and you got your master's degree in Canada and you do business in English, that in fact your verbal abilities are much stronger than what the GMAT would imply. In addition, if you have a strong TOEFL score, you could also point to that as evidence that this V31 does not fully capture your ability to communicate in the English language. Now, a couple of things that don't really matter to MBA admissions committees quite so much. Anything researchy, a research internship, doing a couple of publications, that's great for you from an intellectual perspective. However, remember that admissions committees are not necessarily looking for pure intellectuals. They are actually looking for leaders, right? This is not a PhD program in which IQ alone is what matters tremendously. EQ matters much more. Please watch my video on the ADCOM hierarchy of needs if this is sort of news to you. But so I really wouldn't even bother mentioning either one of these, this internship nor this publication on your resume or really anywhere in your application. It's not really worth it. When I got down to the extracurricular parts, I was a little bit bummed at first. Organized a few tech events, do some music, your acoustic guitars, like, it's interesting, but it's not like great. But then I read this part at the end. You volunteer as a mentor and you present for a regulatory body of a Canadian province. That's really cool. So I think this should be the primary thing that you highlight in your resume when you are applying. In terms of the post-MBA goal, trading, so you say energy consultancy / trading / investment banking, as if though those three terms are interchangeable. Which they aren't at all. Working and trading in energy is a completely different skill set than what you need as an investment banker. I suppose there's a little bit of overlap between consultancy and banking to the extent that if, as a consultant, perhaps you are building complex financial models, and so therefore maybe your Excel skills and your financial modeling skills are already pretty strong. So maybe, you know what, maybe I was a little harsh in making that a red. Maybe I'll make that more of like an intermediate, like a pink, right? Obviously energy consultancy, since it's what you do now, that is the story you should apply with. So in terms of the schools that you should focus on, ideally you would have had a stronger GMAT score, one that reflects your true intellectual potential. But that having been said, look, you're an energy person. The Texas schools, right? So UT Austin, Mays, etc. The Texas schools are going to be your best bet in terms of U.S. acceptance, just because of the alignment with your professional background. If you can get the GMAT up, maybe you could look into Duke. Duke also has a really strong energy program. And then here's the part where I hope I'm not being a little too nosy here. But why on earth are you even bothering applying to the U.S. schools? You even mentioned the H-1B visa. Look, getting your MBA in the US, in terms of that post-graduation work opportunity, the opportunities are far, far less than they would be in Canada, right? Because Canada, assuming if you do you know, a 1 or 2 year MBA, if you do a 2-year MBA, if you do a 2-year MBA in Canada, afterwards you qualify for a 3-year visa. In the US, that's only a 1-year visa. So you're pretty much, and you know, and the granting later on from there of the H-1B, you know, it's really not at all a sure thing. I am an American citizen, born and raised, and I have cousins who lost the H-1B visa lottery, and we were, you know, pulling for them and writing letters and doing all that stuff you're supposed to do. And they lost it, you know, they had to then go through the regular green card process, and it took them 12 years to come back to the United States. So, you know, I just got to tell you, man, why would you... You're in the process of applying for Canadian citizenship. I think you said that up here. You're already living in Canada. The Canadian programs are shorter. The Canadian programs are less expensive. So I realized that, look, we're here at GMATClub. This is where you reach out to me. And at GMATClub, there is a complete obsession with the U.S. schools. They are the bright, shiny object that everyone just strives to reach for. But I think sometimes, and I'm not saying this is you, but I think some people at GMATClub, maybe not you, but maybe you, some people tend to sort of just get obsessed with, like, I have to go to a U.S. school because that's what everyone else is doing, without really stopping to ask themselves, is this what I need for my life? You know, for a lot of people in India, I know you're in Canada, but a lot of people in India, ISB is actually going to have a significantly stronger return on investment than, say, a U.S. program would, especially if it's a U.S. program where you don't get a scholarship. And tell me, what I meant to say was, let me tell you that with a 690, you are going to be it's going to be challenging for you to get in, and that is certainly not a sort of scholarship-worthy score. So you would be on the hook for probably the entire cost of the degree. So I would look into Canada. Why not go for the sure thing? It's a 1-year degree sometimes. There are ones like Rotman that are 2 years. They're a little bit easier to get into. Like, all signs point to Canada. So that would be my advice to you, is to stay home, and don't think that the grass is greener on the other side of the Canadian-U.S. border fence. Thank you.